Hi there, it's Rachel Greig here today, and I wanted to show you our latest stamp and stencil release for October 2019. In this release we've got 4 new stamp sets, we've got 4 new background stamps, 4 texture stamps, 4 new small stamps, and then we've got 4 new small stencils as well. So in our rubber stamp sets we've got the new Buzzing Bees stamp set. We had quite a lot of requests to do some bee stamps, so we've put together some different size bees, a flower here so you can have your little buzzing bee going into the flower, and you can do some really nice watercolouring techniques with the flower as well. And then we've got some large bees, and then also a honeycomb little image here, along with some different sentiments that you can mix and match and then just use that on your cards. With the background stamps, we've also got a matching honeycomb background that you can stamp up and use as your background. So you can either stamp it in a portrait way like this, or you can stamp it landscape and just use it either way. That'll work both ways on your cards. And next stamp set we have here, this is called the hand knitted stamp set, and this has got a different images here, all to do with knitting. So we've got a basket here with some skeins of wool and some knitting needles, and then we've got a ball of wool here and some knitting needles as well, and just different little fun sentiments here, just some nice little humorous ones. And then we've also got a little tiny one, hand knitted with love, and a hand knitted by, and these are really good if you want to stamp them onto some little tags, so then you can attach that to any sort of item that you want to give away as a gift. So they're really nicely detailed as well, those stamps, and they work really well with our our knitting background stamp. And this is how this looks when it's stamped. That's just in some yellow ink, but this also works really nicely if you stamp it in some embossing powder, and even if you add some glitter into it as well, so it makes it look like it's that the glittery yarn that you can use as well. So this is nice and realistic, so it gives you that realistic look for your stamping. The next stamp set that we have here, this is going on to some of our Christmas stamps, and with the popularity of our tall flowers stamp set, we had some requests then for some vertical Christmas sentiments, and so we've used some nice glass baubles here, Christmas ornaments that you can stamp with them. So you can stamp a couple of those and then use the sentiment down the side as well. So you can either use these in embossing powders or just different stamped inks. Some foiling would look really nice with that as well, just to give it that nice little shimmery Christmas look. And then this stamp set here I've wanted to do for a very long time, because I really love doing mail art and just decorating envelopes any time of the year, but especially for Christmas. So we've got all sorts of different imagery and words that you can use. So we've got here, this is just a little envelope here that I've made up quickly just using some of them. So we've got the card only, because at Christmas time often you need that stamp on your envelopes if you're just sending a card. And then we've got a cute little Santa down here that can be just stamped in the corner there. And then we've also got all the other things that you'll need for mail art. So we've got the deliver to and the via airmail, and then we've also got do not bend if you need something not to be bent, special delivery, merry mail, sender, so you can stamp that on the back of your envelopes. And then we've got different postmarks and little trees, so you can make your own little mail art envelopes. And this here, this is the diagonal stripes background stamp. So these are the other 2 background stamps. So we've got Starry Night, which would work with any of the Christmas themed stamp sets if you wanted to add some stars to your stamping, and then the diagonal stripes. So this one here can be used to create that mail art look around your envelopes. I've done it here in a watercolor effect just to give it that nice little watery look. But you can just use different ink pads. The way I've done this is just use a blue and red marker and then just coloured in each diagonal stripe and then stamped it onto your envelope there. So, and just using a mask here, just so you only get the outer edge of your envelopes. So that's how you can use that background stamp to create the mail art airmail stripes around the edges of your envelopes. The other way you can use this is obviously you can just use it as a straight background and just using, you know, a couple of different inks. You can use watercolor techniques like I've done here just to give it some different colors and a really nice watery look. Use pastel colors to create a really nice pastel effect for your backgrounds. Often it's hard to sort of get those ideas with the pastel when you see the packaging just in straight black. So, but just remember you can stamp it in a pastel ink and get really nice soft effects as well for your backgrounds. So there are our 4 background stamps. We've then got some texture stamps, and we've got 4 new texture stamps, and remember these are taken off our background stamp designs, and we've just made them smaller and we've given them a nice feathered edge, so it means you can just stamp it directly onto your projects without, you know, the need of masking or anything like that. So I've got torn text. Now this is going to be fabulous for doing layering on card making and also art journaling if you really like using textures for creating up layers in your art journals, just to give it that sort of, you know, text look. We've also got the shells. This is really fab for any sort of seaside theme. Works really well with some of our seaside stamp sets. So here's a card here where I've used it, and all I've done is just stamped it straight onto some white cardstock, just using a Viridian archival ink colour, and then layered up some of our stamps from our other seaside stamp sets, and it just makes a really nice little gift card. So that's if you want to do some small cards, and then again if you want to use it for some larger cards you can do that as well. They're very versatile that way. This Cogs one is really cool. So this one here, it's got that nice sort of organic edge on it, so that means you can just stamp it without, you know, having a harsh edge. It just sort of organically finishes. And then you can use this again if you want to stamp this in some really nice embossing powders, like some, you know, ultra thick embossing and gold embossing, all of that, or some rust sort of copper embossing powder. That works really well with these Cogs. And then this one is the Christmas script. So again, similar to the torn text, whereas the text, that's a typed text. This is my handwriting, so this is Christmas script, and it's got Christmas words on there. So you can use that for backgrounds for your Christmas cards, or sort of any scrapbooking or memory keeping, just to give it a nice little texture, but with Christmas words rather than just, you know, other words that may not associate with Christmas. So there's our textures, and then we have our small stamps, and these are just some small sentiments. Well, when I say small, they're actually quite bold when you use them on a card, but the stamp themselves are, you know, they're a smallish kind of stamp, so they fit there just in the palm of my hand. And all of our stamps come on cling foam, so they're ready to stamp with. And so these ones, we've got 4 different ones. We've got Great Friend, You're a Great Friend, Let Your Dreams Take Flight, Celebrating a Milestone. And this is a really good one if you've got, you know, whether it's a age birthday, you know, like a 50th or a 60th or whatever, but also in, you know, someone might have had a promotion at work or any sort of milestone, something that they've done or achieved in life. And it's a really good versatile stamp for that occasion. 'Tis the Season to be Jolly is our Christmas one. So the way that I've used these is stamping them just to keep them nice and bold here for our cards, but using different coloured inks. So you can see here how I've used an orange ink here, then the green and the yellow for the flowers. And I've done that all in one stamping. Like I haven't stamped that part, then stamp, then stamp. All I've done is just use some small ink cubes. So I use the archival ink cubes, or the archival mini inks, and it's really easy when you use the mini inks to just ink up the area of the stamp that you need to. So I've just used 3 different inks and then just stamped that image or the sentiment and then just attached it to my card. And these little tags here, these are stamped with some background stamps and then just layered it onto my cards here. So it just makes really nice, easy and quick cards. So there are our 4 little our small stamps there with all the sentiments, and each one has some imagery on it as well, and that just makes it a nice little fun stamp to use for your cards. So there's our little small stamps, and then lastly we have 4 new small stencils.
So we've continuing on here with our shaped series. So our sets where you have a shape, and you'll get the negative outline there, and you'll also get the positive mask. So that means that you can sponge inside the negative area, or if you want to put some ink onto this and you can spray it, or you want to paint onto that and then make an impression, or if you want to use that as a mask and then sponge around the edges, and then you get like a little halo effect. So we've got the star, and then we've got a Christmas tree, and that's a really nice funky Christmas tree that you can quickly create some Christmas cards with. We've got the Bauble Set, and this set comes with the bauble shape, and it also comes with the ribbon, and you also get the positive shapes as well. So this means here you can stamp the bauble or sponge inside the bauble, and then use that ribbon on top and just layer it over to create the finished bauble. So here's a card here that I've done using that. So you can see here how I've sponged. This is the peeled paint distress ink just inside that bauble, and I've just shaded it a little bit darker just on that right hand side there, just so it has a bit more depth, and then placed that the ribbon stencil over the top there, so it looks like there's a ribbon at the top of the bauble. And for this one here, you can see there how I've embossed it with some gold tinsel embossing powder, and that just gives it a nice little shimmer. And then I've just stamped a sentiment. This is from the Stitched Christmas stamp set, and it's just a nice little elegant sentiment there just to add to the bottom. The other thing you can do with these little stencils here is I've just left that bauble. I mean, it's got a little bit of embossing powder that's come down there, which I think is really pretty. But if you wanted to, you could stamp one of our backgrounds. So if you wanted to create stars inside that bauble, so you would just sponge inside that bauble and keep that stencil over the top, and then stamp the stars over the top in it. This area here will then act like a mask, and the stamping won't go on that part, but it'll only go within the bauble. So that means you can get a pattern inside your bauble, and then you could either just leave it as stamped, or you could emboss it depending on which ink you've actually used to stamp with. So that's just a really fun way. And then the reindeer here is our last stencil, and it's a really fun reindeer, so you can either use it this way. The good thing about these stencils, let me just open this one up for you and just show you, is obviously with stencils you can use it this way, or you can flip it if you want your reindeer to go that way. So it just depends on which way you want it to be. You just flip your stencil over it. There's no right or wrong way, whichever way you want to use it on your cards and projects. So this would be really cool on a card, obviously, but also if you wanted to do like a journal page or a scrapbook page, and then you can sponge several of them, you know, the little reindeers running through the sky. So there's lots of different ways you can use those reindeers. And again, like I was saying, I've just sponged distress ink, but you know, through this the ribbon section, and this would work with any of the stencil shapes, obviously. The I've just sponged in this area was the distress embossing ink, and then that obviously makes that area wet enough to pour your embossing powder over. So that means you could do the same with the reindeers. So you could emboss full solid reindeers in like a red tinsel or a green tinsel, or make your own mixture. There's lots of beautiful embossing powders, like mixed media embossing powders out, where you could get like real grungy effects as well. So you could use that, especially with the stars. That'd be cool. You know, some really nice embossed stars all over your art journal pages or your card making. So it just gives you lots of different ideas and ways to use all of these stencils. Again, you can also just use a pen and just draw around the shape. So, and then, you know, you could write inside, or you could do your own little Zentangle inside. There's so many different ways. And if you check out our blog, there'll be lots of different ways on using the previous stencils we've done, because we've done hearts and circles and ovals and all different types of shapes. So you can use those same techniques just with these new stencils. So check out our blog and also our other videos that we've got on YouTube. We try and share lots of different ideas using all of our products, and also our Instagram. You just follow us at Darkroom_door on Instagram, and then also check out our Facebook, which is just Darkroom Door, and also on our website, where we try to share lots of different ideas on our blog. So you've got
you know, lots of different ideas on how you can use the products. So these are just a couple of ideas using our new release. Everything is now available on the Darkroom Door website, or please ask for them at your favorite craft retailer. And just keep an eye out. We'll be sharing lots more projects on our blog and on the website from our wonderful creative team in the future. So be sure to check that out so you get lots of new ideas using these stamps. So check us out at darkroomdoor.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.